So there's a related question, and this is, I think, more of just for Paul and I, because we're going to be the ones who know the answer. How much of a consideration was Desert Bus when picking a spot for and building out the new Moonbase? And to me, it was like pretty high. It was like third down on my list of...
It was not a consideration.
Yeah. We definitely felt like if we're going to move into this space, let's really think about having to... What if we have to spend 2 weeks here making the changes? It makes it so much easier than going to... Because how we were finding other places was James would have to go talk to people who manage like rentals for different locations and be like, what's open that we can take over for about 2.5 weeks?
But then the problem is, like, that they can't reserve it.
Yes.
So, like, somebody could actually, like, rent the place while we were
exactly
prepping it.
And they're like, we don't mind you. We're more than happy to donate you the space for you to be here to do that. You guys keep it clean and everything else will be fine. But yeah, so when we were like, if we're going to pick this place and it is going to be that much larger than Moonbase Mark V, let's really think about everything that we need to run this place for 50 weeks.
It's dusk.
Hey,
dusk.
nice.
It's not, yeah, and I wouldn't say that, like...
And then also consider, well, will Desert Bus work in this space too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if we had, if this space was custom fitted for Desert Bus rather than for Loading Ready Run,
yeah,
it would be made differently.
Yes.
I will say that.
Yes.
But, yeah, it was definitely a consideration.
Like for the broadcast booth was one of those things where I'm like, also I'm sure that engineering will, like Desert Bus engineering will enjoy the broadcast booth, and then Johnny comes in, he has one look at it, and he's like, we can't put everybody in here, and I'm like, I don't see how, but I'm also not in charge.
It's the pony wall.
Yeah,
it's 2 people and 17 big extra large Elgato switches.
Yeah, you got all these stream decks you got to put everywhere.
All of the stream decks need a lot of space.
Yeah.
The biggest issue is the little half wall that goes between the door area. It blocks the larger tables, so we can't actually set up the monitors.
And to be fair, that half wall wasn't supposed to be there.
That's right.
It turned out we were planning on taking that out, and it turned out to be not possible to take out.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a pain in the butt.
But in the that means that, of course, Studio B is basically taken over as Desert Bus Engineering, and it seems to suit them just fine. And I'm very happy that it suits them just fine. Like, I'm glad that we've found a way to adapt to make everything work. It does feel like it's like when I look at the broadcast booth, basically just being a place that cables get run through. But now this year, we set it up so that you can actually walk through it and use it as a means to get to the stage area without having to directly interrupt the stage area. You can come in near the back, comms can move in and out, everybody can move in and out without having to be like right next to the stage when they open the door.
And the thing, like, and things that we built for Loading Ready Run obviously serve Desert Bus well. Like, for instance, Studio C and Studio B are relatively sound isolated from each other and from the rest of the office. I say relatively because we have to make sure the doors are closed and everything. But it means that if you're either in the in the tech booth or in Studio B or whatever, you're getting sort of a true sound, like in Desert Bus past, when sometimes the broadcast people have just been in the room with the stream, and the problem with that is that it becomes hard to tell what you're hearing that's going on.
When it was like just starting out, but now it's just too much.
It becomes difficult to hear like what you're actually just hearing because you're sitting in the room and what you're hearing on the headphones.
It's quite nice because we have sort of multiple ways of hearing sound back here. We have the booth monitor, so we can actually play sound into the room that the stream is hearing, or we can also have the headphone setups, and we're far enough that we don't get anything from the stage itself.
And this is something that, to be honest, like in Moonbase Mark V, when I'm running a stream for like AFK or Friday Night Paper Fight, I was in the room, and that was a thing that we built the tech office for this studio. And to be honest, I was pretty skeptical.
Yes,
I was like, I don't know if I like, not only do I not like being able to hear and being sort of there, but I was concerned about like sight lines and stuff. But I was encouraged by what Desert Bus was already doing. Desert Bus had already sort of done this idea of the broadcast team sort of relying entirely on their
what they can see
on their monitors
Yeah.
and stuff. And that turns out to work. It required some changes in my workflow and things, but I think by and large it was definitely a positive. I would still like it if the window was a little bit different.
Yep.
Like basically like we've got a big window,
Yeah.
and it's the way it's positioned and the way the sets ended up being and stuff makes it so I can't really see anything useful out the window.
Yeah, like if there's live, you're blocked by like cameras and the monitor, and then you're around the corner, and your
Yeah.
own monitor is blocking your view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's sort of how it goes.
It would have been because when we looked at the like even just the windows for that and for the broadcast or the tech office looking into Studio B, the windows are like they go up forever. And in the conversation that we were having, like they need to stop. They don't need to go up that high. They can just stop here. Like they can stop. They can stop
Stream,
quite
you're
low
the only ones who can
because
hear me
if
on
somebody is
stage can't.
standing,
So
then
this
if they
is a
can see into the
secret
room, then that's fine. But they
conversation.
don't need to go a foot above
Ha,
that because there's no real reason to look up into the ceiling.
No.
And see that. And if you're sitting down and trying to look into the ceiling, then you can see it. It would have been better to have more glass on the sides and have the window be a little bit squatter. And so we tried to talk to them about doing those things, and what we got was what we got. And we're like, okay, well, that's what we got. That's what we have. I can't really go back and be like, hey, take that window out and completely redesign these walls. It's like, no.
And there's always that thing, like especially when you're, and it's a little frustrating when you were actually like building, like if you move into a spot and you sort of have to make it work. That's one thing. It is frustrating when you like are planning it and you do the, you put it where all the walls are going to be and do all this stuff, and they do it. There's issues about sometimes things don't come out the way they're supposed to be in the plans. But even when they do,
Yeah.
it's like this is made exactly as we specified.
Yeah.
And then we get into the space and be like, we're actually going to use it in a different way than we specified.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Studio B
Was supposed to be rotated 90
was
degrees.
originally supposed to be 90 degrees from what it is now, and so there's the way the window is and the way that there's jacks on the walls and things, assuming that it was going to be 90 degrees from what it is. But when we got into the space, we were like, it actually works better this way.
Yeah. It's kind of down.
Which is frustrating because you're like, not we built it like this.
Yeah.
It was our choice and we chose wrong.
There was
That's just the way.
brief mention in chat I saw roll by a while ago that people were like, "Is this the last Moonbase?" No, it is absolutely not.
It's the most recent.
It is the most recent, and we have a lease to be here for a set number of years. And when we get to that end of the years, we will almost assuredly be like, "Hey, it's time to find something else." Whether or not that means that we stick around here a year or two more, if they'll let us have like a year-on-year lease or something, if we're just kind of like, oh my God, we've already outgrown this as well. How do we make that work?
Yeah. The dream would be, instead of moving, just expanding to the rest of the building.
Yes.
Yeah.
That way we can be bigger but not have to move.
Yeah.
Just
Bigger.
warehouse studio time.
Yeah.
The dream, everyone's dream, be big but don't have to move.
Yeah.
You buy your own property. Oh wait, this is.
But yeah, the Moonbase will always grow to fill spaces. It's true though. Like I remember moving into Moonbase 2
Yeah.
and being like, this is big enough to like do whatever we need to do.
Yeah.
You did some reno on 2, right?
We did a lot of reno on
Yeah.
2. Yeah.
So
And it had, basically one open area and one office
And one really big door.
and a giant door that was very dangerous. And we're like, but like I remember that, and then thinking the same thing when Moonbase Mark III.
which had the double doors
Yeah, well, we never opened.
to the parking lot.
Great.
We did for the tennis ball thing.
Yeah, we
opened it
used
one
it every
time.
once in a while. Yeah. And to get the tracks for the dolly in and out, we had to open it.
Yeah.
It's funny because like if we were Moonbase Delta came at a very weird time for us, because if we were the way we are now and moved into Delta, we would have wanted more space. And I feel like also because people have probably seen all of Delta by now because they would have watched the Battlegrounds, the Nerf
Yeah.
fighting, right?
But that included the space we weren't in.
Sorry?
that included the space we weren't in.
Yeah, and that's what I mean is I'm like, if we needed to expand and we were in a position of being able to do that, we would have been a lot more likely to be like, let's take twice as much or 3 times as much space.
Right.
If we were the people we are now, like with the way the company operates now and the income and everything else, it's like we could afford to do that.
Well, except the company was
Yeah.
actually kicking us out there.
Yeah, well,
that
I
was
mean-
a different situation, but
in the back of my mind, I'm like, we might have been able to work something out with the MS Society or something. Maybe be like, can we assume the lease on your building? Can we buy it off you? Can we spend that time and be like, I don't know how long we're gonna have to be on a 60-year mortgage, but like that
Yeah.
kind of idea. But it's like we might have been able to negotiate something or work some better things out. Because that would have been an amazing building to have so many more options of stuff to do. Of course, the downside of that is like if we were to take over that lease and actually own a real building, then it's like, oh no, we have to be landlords to anybody else that's going to come in here.
But again, like it wasn't made to our specifications.
Yeah.
It was, the ceilings were kind of low. It was.
We would have
it
had
was
to
an
do a
office.
ton of reno as well.
Yeah. But it's that thing where like your ambitions increase with your thing. Like we moved into Moonbase Delta, and we had like
studios.
We had the streaming studio and the like podcasting /
Checkpoint,
AFK
live
studio.
gaming, yeah.
And we were like, this is great. And then we were like, okay. And then when we had to move to Moonbase Mark V, we were probably ready to move soon, but we were forced to move a lot earlier than we were expected. Then we were like, what we'll do is we'll have a podcasting studio separately, so we'll have 3 studios. That'll be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the Studio C, we'll have it set up so we can have 2 sets in there.
Yes.
And that worked out well. But then we're like, but we want to have, we have 2 sets in Studio C, but in order to use them, we have to basically like clear one set completely and then move everything over to the other side.
Yeah.
And then set it up. What if we had more space, and then we moved here, and now we effectively have 3 sets in Studio C here.
And we use this as the podcasting room instead of the podcasting
Casting room. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some things changed a little bit.
I mean, we did that in
Mark V as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. For TTC ended up moving in there. There was talk about doing Checkpoint in Studio C at one point, and we're like, no, let's.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yeah. There's been there's always a thing of like you're always reevaluating how you want to do stuff and how you want to achieve.
And once you
the
sort of
effect.
reach a stasis in your place, then you're always like, wouldn't it be nice if?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, just prepare to have a Sharks in the Jet style rumble with the neighbors towards the end of your lease, get them kicked out, and then you can take over.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Would Lur like to ever own their own building? Yes. Just throw that out there right now. We'd love to own our own building.
Be interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
We love property ownership.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great? That's the dream of every millennial is to
Yeah.
own property.
Everyone living in Victoria wants that. Unfortunately, people outside of Victoria.
It would be super cool. It would have to be quite big, and then we know we'd be locked in to do whatever from that point forward.
Oh no.
How terrible. But it would definitely be the dream to just know that it's our space. But then the other side of that is it's like then it's our maintenance. So
Good thing we have a
Mark
business manager
Mark one-
/ landlord.
yeah.
Mark 1 wasn't. Mark 1 was a room in a building. It wasn't a separate building. It was above a kabuki cabs. And we had like a room, and there were about 4 other places in the building. There's a photography studio, and there were guys who worked at the back of the building, and we didn't know what they did. And then there was like some musicians that were in the place that became Moonbase Mark II, which was across the hallway from Mark 1.
And then Mark III was the back half of a house that had been converted for commercial, like white collar jobs.
It was like, I think Mark III had previously been like a massage parlor or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just like the peaked roof and then the downstairs and the upstairs.
Yeah.